Alrighty, Senator, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good, doing
Good.
good. Let's just start off by telling our community a little bit about who you are and why you're running for mayor.
Well, who I am is my name is Royce Duplessis. I'm Hetty and Will's son. I'm one of four boys that they raised: Rory, Ryan, and Randall and Royce. I'm one of four boys raised in New Orleans. I'm Crystal's husband and Reese's dad. So that's who I am. What I do in serving my community as an elected official is I'm a state senator, currently representing the 5th Senatorial District. I've been serving in that role for 3 years. I served as a state House member for 4 years. I grew up here in New Orleans, attended St. Augustine High School. I attended Xavier University right across the street. And I entered local government in 2006, right after Hurricane Katrina, when I worked as a chief of staff to a New Orleans City Council person. And that was a great experience for me. It was my first real government experience in helping people help solve issues. Then I went to Howard University School of Law, so I'm a practicing attorney. But despite all of those things, I'm running for the mayor of New Orleans because I believe that we can do better, we have to do better, and we cannot wait. Right now, New Orleans is facing a crisis in leadership. We have a vacuum in leadership where the people of New Orleans are hurting. We know this because over 20,000 people have left the city of New Orleans over the past 4 years. We've had a lot of chaos, a lot of division, a lot of finger pointing, a lot of infighting, and it hasn't led to results for our people. I've always tried to be a consensus builder while not compromising my own values. I've tried to be someone who puts the issues first and not my political differences first, because that's what government should be about. That's what leadership should be about. And right now, we don't have it in the city of New Orleans, or at least at City Hall. So I'm running because our streets need to be better. Our communities need to be safer. Our community needs to be more affordable. People are being pushed out of this city, and they don't have a choice. They're being squeezed out. We need a functioning sewage and water board. We need a functioning infrastructure. We need a functioning safety and permits department. We need a city that we can be proud of. And I love this city, and I love the people in this city, and that's why I'm running for mayor.
Amazing. I love that. You had said that you're a state senator, and maybe some people out here didn't know that before. Can you tell us what you have done on behalf of New Orleans in Baton Rouge? Maybe like 2 or 3 concrete examples of where you've delivered these incredible outcomes for residents now.
Sure. I've worked on a number of different issues. One of the first things that I helped champion when I got to the legislature was the change in the non-unanimous jury law that was a huge stain on the state of Louisiana for too long, over a century. And that was a collaborative effort working with a number of different advocates and other legislators to get that done. The problem is that we still have a stain on our criminal justice system because it wasn't retroactive. So I've been the champion for the past several years to try to make it retroactive. We have probably roughly 1,000 people that are still serving sentences for convictions for non-unanimous juries. And I'm going to continue to champion that, whether I'm in the legislature or whether I'm not in the legislature, because it's just the right thing to do. I've worked on behalf of women and maternal health. I passed legislation, groundbreaking legislation, to require screenings for perinatal mood anxiety, otherwise known as postpartum depression. That's a huge issue affecting moms. The health of the mother is directly connected to the health of the child, and vice versa. So that was a big initiative I was proud to work on to advance. I passed legislation to limit solitary confinement for juveniles in our state. They didn't think we could do it, but we did. But I believe in getting away from this cruel system of punishment, and I believe in proactive measures. I've also passed legislation successfully to, for the first time, get the Louisiana Department of Health to begin looking at policies that are about violence prevention and not just how we can incarcerate more people, because we know Louisiana's been doing it the most than any other state, and we haven't been any safer as a result. So those are the kind of issues that I've worked on. I've also led on funding for infrastructure projects in my district and trying to fight for insurance reform. I've passed legislation to help get our insurance rates down, because it's a crushing citizens throughout this state, but especially in New Orleans.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
I love that. And it hit home for me because, like, my dad is in prison. My dad had been in prison all my life, and I never knew, like, that he was really involved in the city. So thank you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so my question. Since Katrina, tens of thousands of black residents have been priced out by the rising costs and speculations. You've proposed inclusionary zoning, community controlled development, support for the lands and trust and co-ops, and reliefs for homeowners through property tax and insurance assistance. As mayor, what's your plan to create growth that uplifts without displacing so long-time neighbors can stay in and return to the neighborhoods?
Well, it's the people that make the neighborhoods what they are. It's not the physical structures themselves. And we love the beauty and the architecture of New Orleans, but it's really the people. And those people have to be able to stay in those homes, to stay in those neighborhoods. Just this past session, I brought legislation that would have frozen property taxes for the poorest homeowners in our state. I wasn't able to get it across the finish line, but that's the kind of policies we need to be bringing. So I would try to do something like that at the local level to see if we can freeze, even if it's temporary, property taxes for people when their properties get assessed. We don't. It's not their fault if they didn't make any improvements to their home, but everything changes around them. You shouldn't be priced out of your home as a result of that. Right. So I would work on trying to do something like that at the local level. I will also work on trying to create programs. We will create programs to fund strengthening homes, fortifying their roofs, weatherizing homes to make them more storm and weather resistant, because that can also help with reducing insurance premiums.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So speaking of just homes, streets, areas, we've talked about this before. Potholes, right? We can't stand them. All these street projects, they feel like they are just so drawn out, right? And, you've talked a lot about proactive maintenance and stronger contractor accountability and transparent dashboards. How will you enforce timelines and quality and ensure all of New Orleans, not just tourist areas, are properly addressed?
We have to have performance outcomes. We have to have performance measures. If you don't do the job, you can't you can't charge the city if you haven't performed. We can't go to work. We can't have our clients and do our job and get paid if we don't perform and do what we were hired to do. Since the Nagin administration, we've had these project managers, and we need project managers. There's a place for project managers because we don't have the in-house capacity. But what we need to do is, for every project manager and for every project, we have someone on staff who is accountable to tracking that project, to measuring those outcomes, so there's a sense of accountability. So it's almost like a one-for-one. And every time we've gone too far in the project management lane, we've ended up spending upwards of $30 to $40 million with no results. And that has been part of the logjam. We've gone back and forth from outside project managers to trying to do it in-house, back to project managers to trying to do it in-house. Like I said, this has gone back to the Nagin administration. What we need to continue to do is focus on more of a hybrid model, where for every project management job that is issued and contracted, there is someone on staff in City Hall who has the know-how, who has the expertise to hold those project managers accountable. And if you're not moving along on the job, then you're off the job.
I love to hear it.
I love that. Okay. So beyond emergency response, how would you like to expand community-based mental health and addiction care? You've talked about more beds and outpatient services, recovery houses per support specialist, including formerly incarcerated people, and working towards a modern mental health and wellness hospital outside of the jail. How would those pieces work together in practice?
Yeah, so the jail should not be a mental health hospital, but we know so many people who are in jail and who are incarcerated really need mental health services. So we have to continue to address the issue, continue to try to destigmatize it, and get treatment. We need a continuum of care. I have also led on the issue of mental health in the state legislature. I've passed a number of bills dealing with the issue of mental health. My family has been personally impacted by mental health crisis, as have all of our families. We all have people who have suffered. So I also did the legislation to lower the barriers for peer support specialists to be able to do their work to help people with drug and alcohol addiction challenges. It's really all about coordination, in my opinion, to make sure that people who are suffering can get the help they need as quickly as possible. That means working with our court system, particularly our civil court system, not our criminal court system. We have what's called an assisted outpatient treatment program. That way, you have what is similar to going before a criminal court judge, but it's the black robe effect, where you have an individual going before the judge and being held accountable. Are you taking your medications? Have you shown up to your to your appointments? You're not going to go to jail, but it's a way of keeping people accountable and keeping them on track. And that initiative has been led by Judge Kern Reese. So we want to make families aware of the resources that are available, because there are so many families who just feel like they don't even know who to call when a family member has an episode or when someone's in a crisis, which often is the case. So we need crisis responders who are not police, right, but are trained and know how to go and de-escalate a situation to get them the help that they need. And that's the kind of model that we need to be embracing, approaching it with compassion, approaching it with expertise, and the ability to assess what the person is dealing with, get them the treatment that they need, get them stabilized. If it's inpatient, 2 weeks isn't enough for a lot of times. People need longer stays, up to 30 days. So it's a combination of local working with the state and the federal government to get these waivers, right? Because you need federal waivers for them to stay beyond 2 weeks. But it's a continuum of care that people need. It's a continuum of care with people who are struggling with mental health challenges, as many people are. Look, we're about to hit the 20-year mark of Hurricane Katrina, and there's still a lot of undiagnosed trauma in our community from that, along with just the other challenges you face living in the cities in America. But it's a continuum of care that we need so that people can get the services short-term and long-term, acute care services. We just have to be more focused on it.
Yeah, so let's chat a little bit about like public safety and the spending around that. So you've worked on reform in legislature. Crime is down, even though the jail population continues to rise. Public safety already takes a large share of that budget. Should the level of spending continue? And if not, what specific shifts would you make to fund real community safety?
So I think I mentioned earlier the work that I did on getting LDH to begin to identify policies around prevention and intervention. I want New Orleans to be the world's leader in prevention and intervention. I don't want crime to happen.
Right.
I don't want to have to respond to crime. I don't want the crime to happen. So more investment in education for our youth, more investment in recreation for our youth, more investment in programs, job programs, summer job training programs where these kids get paid on time. If a 15-year-old or 16-year-old signs up for a summer job, they want their money, right? And they need to get paid.
Yes.
Okay? So I think those are the basic things that we just need to do well from a management perspective to give these kids opportunities. That's the best way to deal with crime, in my opinion, right? So we need to invest in those programs to stop the crime from happening in the beginning. So that'll be my style and my focus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So reallocation of that
focus money. Yeah. Well, we want to focus every year. We're going to have to look at the budget, and we're going to have to make hard decisions around where the priorities are. I believe right now, because crime is down, this is the time for us to lean in even more and do more investment into prevention and intervention. So that is the philosophy that I will lead with.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay. So based on your response from that, I'm what you're looking for.
Okay.
I'm definitely what you're looking for. We're going to talk more afterwards.
Yeah.
But our community knows you for criminal justice work. From leadership tied to non-unanimous juries to expanding reentry, expunging excesses. As mayor, what will you do to reduce the many barriers people with convictions face in jobs, housing, education, and expungements?
Thank you for bringing up the expungement work. I didn't even I mean, I feel like I've done so much on criminal justice reform. Sometimes I don't even remember, but I'm very proud of the bill that we passed a couple of years ago to streamline the expungement process. Now, we're still working through it because we're dealing with an old system and we're trying to implement it now, but it's too costly to get an expungement first and foremost. This is something you're legally entitled to. You've served your time, you have gone the cleansing period, but now for every charge, even if you weren't convicted, you could just have been arrested. You have to pay $500 per charge, and in most cases, you have to hire an attorney. So this thing ends up costing thousands of dollars to people who don't have it. So we have to reduce the barriers to reentry. I've always been a strong proponent of that. There's a lot that can be done at the local level as well, but I will work with municipal court and traffic court. I'll work with the DA's office. I'll work with housing advocates. I'll work with criminal justice reform advocates. Also workforce. We have to work with our local workforce development agencies to identify all the barriers and work to lower those barriers so people can get back to work. I always used to say when I was having debates with my colleagues about these bills, who they didn't understand it. It took me a couple of years to pass it. We were trying to go towards clean slate. We didn't quite get to clean slate where it's automatic. But one of the things that I would say is, look, people don't go get an expungement just so they can print it out and put it in a frame and hang it on their wall.
Right.
People are seeking an expungement so they can move on with their lives, so they can get a job, so they can get education, so they can get housing, and remove that scarlet letter that haunts too many people. People also know me that I've been a strong proponent of limiting the release of mugshots. This was not popular stuff for me to fight for, but I did. And even though we got it passed, they came and repealed it. But I will keep fighting to use the position of mayor to ensure that nobody has any unnecessary barriers to get back to the life that they need to get back to. So we want to, we want to be thoughtful about that because it's also a workforce issue. People need jobs. People need to get to work.
Yeah, I definitely feel like everybody deserves a second chance.
Yeah.
This isn't a part of the questions. I just wanted to say that I was really just happy to hear you say that. I've been working with Vote on the Ban the Box and everything with that with formerly incarcerated people. So just that answer alone that just made me personally very happy. So, you talked a little bit earlier about the youth, and I was so glad that you mentioned that. You have said NORD must be truly open and youth-centered, and that business leaders need real skin in the game. And when it comes to that, what concrete steps will you take in your first 6 months to deliver year-round jobs, paid internships, mentorships, and safe after-school and summer spaces?
Right. So I won't wait 6 months. I'm going to start within 60 days of doing a hardcore audit, a budget audit, and an efficiency audit on the programs that we currently have in place that are supposed to do the very things you spoke to. I will not reinvent any wheels. I will not get rid of programs that are successful just because it was under my predecessor. We see that happen too often when administrations take office, where the new person just will get rid of a program because it wasn't theirs. I mean, maybe we can rebrand it or rename it, but what we need to do is make the programs work better. So for everything you just said around recreation, education, and jobs, we have programs that are already intended to do those very things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get in there and make a hardcore assessment on budget and efficiency and operations, and we're going to get the best people to run those departments so that they actually perform and do what they're supposed to do.
Right. Love it.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
You have my vote.
Thanks.
I just want to let you know you got my vote.
Rain
Seriously.
is riding with me. Yes, I'm saying. I'll take
I know
it.
we're out here like,
To the other ones,
Let's take
it's my
it.
vote right here. That's all I got to say about it. All right, but flooding, heat, and storms always hit the most vulnerable neighborhoods the hardest. You supported a Green Corps approach, green canopy expansions, rain gardens, and clean energies upgrades. What would Royce Duplessis' environmental justice agenda look like? And how will you create a good local job, especially for returning residents while cleaning drains?
Yeah, so I'm going to just give a brief plug. When I was in law school, it was 2008. I didn't know much about environmental justice, right? I just remember, on a Saturday when you had a bunch of trash, me and my dad would get in the truck and we'd go right there on the leisure fields at the dump and just throw the stuff. and I didn't understand what that meant to my community, and how so many of the black and brown communities had similar experiences throughout this country. 2008, I took an environmental justice law class, and I started the Howard Energy and Environmental Law Society. So I was really into that. Worked at EPA, worked at the White House Council on Environmental Quality, and President Barack Obama actually hired Lisa Jackson to run the EPA at the time. She was from New Orleans, so I was really into it. But I will always focus on trying to prioritize how we can use our challenges with the environment as opportunities. So increased rain, we know we're under sea level, we know we have an outdated sewer and water infrastructure that we obviously have to continue to work to improve, but these are opportunities for job creations and energy, green infrastructure, and working to use what some may view as a weakness as our strength. We have a river, we have a lake. You know, this phrase, living with water, I don't know that I fully embrace that phrase, but what we can to do is turn it into our opportunities. Organizations like Thrive NOLA, they're doing great work. Organizations like Healthy Services, Angela Chalk and those folks, they're doing fantastic work, basically saying, look, we're not going to wait on government to fix it all. We're going to use our own resources to make our communities more adaptable to climate change. And also we're going to learn skills and teach our people how to do it so they can go out and be entrepreneurs and be work with other companies. That's the model that we have to approach it with, because government cannot do it alone. We have to work in partnership with these organizations who have the expertise.
I love that. I love it. So you've talked about technology, and you've championed that space in some ways, and what I would want to know is, which technologies would you deploy first to improve streets, trash pickup, sewer and water board, etc. You could just kind of outline those first pilots and time for like rollout and repair times, and understanding how we understand missed pickup times and boil water advisories, etc., etc.
One of the biggest breakdowns that we have right now is lack of coordination between departments. So whatever the problem is, let's say it's sewage and water board, or let's say it's public works, it's the fact that we work in silos and you have these different departments that are not properly coordinating. So we have to embrace technology to break down some of the walls, to get people working from the same mainframe and system. And now, look, we live in an AI world, and while the idea may be a little scary to some, it's still a little scary to me, to be honest with you. We have to embrace it. We have to embrace technology in a way that will increase efficiency. And I believe the challenges that we've faced as a city for decades, for generations, are largely due to just inefficient old ways of doing things. So how do you take new technology and embed it in a system that's been run inefficiently for so long? We have to do it, because otherwise we'll never get City Hall working. I remember as a staffer, when I was trying to get people's potholes fixed, or get something, it'd be a fire hydrant, or a leak, or a water main break. You call Sewage and Water Board, they tell you, oh, that's Public Works. You call Public Works, they tell you, oh, that's Sewage and Water Board. So I will work with the smartest people that I can hire, that I can find, that are committed to this city, to advise me on whatever particular system we need to employ. But we got to embrace technology. I think, with the advancement of technology, I don't think it should be that difficult, but it will take committed leadership to do it.
Yeah, because current leadership is not really using any sort of technology. It seems like it's might outdated. Be a little bit more outdated, right? Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, we need you in the office like tomorrow.
Yesterday.
All right, the state keeps trying to preempt New Orleans on everything from wages to policies. You push for home rule, local wages authority, and fair revenue sharing. If the government or legislator threaten to withhold funds or override policy, how will you stand up for New Orleans' autonomy and still secure the resources the city needs?
Absolutely. I'm going to stand up for New Orleans the way I always have. And I want to take a moment just to address a few things that are out there. one of the first bills that I filed when I got to the legislature was to give the city of New Orleans the ability to set its own wages and policies. But y'all remember recently when the governor got elected, right?
Mm-hmm.
He set up a task force on the city of New Orleans, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am here to defend the city of New Orleans. And the way that I do that is by being as involved as I can be. I've always stood up for defending the city, and I always will do that, right? So, y'all, I'm sure y'all hearing some of the noise out there talking about, my relationship with the governor and all this other stuff like that. The way that I'm going to defend New Orleans is reminding everybody this is a home rule charter city, and New Orleans will be respected. But I'm also going to be wherever I need to be to make sure we get our resources, whether it's dealing with insurance, whether it's dealing with sewage and water board, whether it's dealing with any aspect of governing our city, right? So that's leadership. Mm-hmm. And I will work with whoever is in the office of governor, whether it's a Democrat, whether it's Republican. I'm going to respect the office. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to defend New Orleans because this is our city. And I've always done that. So, my record speaks for it.
I love that. They're so cocky and confident.
I feel like you kind of answered the question I was about to ask. So, but I still want to read it because I think that there are, specific examples that we'd love to hear. If you were mayor, how would you keep a productive working relationship with the governor while still forcefully advocating for New Orleans? Give one or two situations where you would seek collaboration and where you would draw a firm line, such as budget priorities, public safety, disaster recovery, etc.
Absolutely. So everybody knows we are in a supermajority Republican legislature. Mm-hmm. I am a black Democrat from New Orleans. Mm-hmm. Jeff Landry got the fewest amount of votes when he ran for governor in my Senate district, mm-hmm. right? With that said, I have been one of the most forceful and uncompromising voices against his agenda and the entire MAGA agenda. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't change. I mean, my record speaks for itself. But when it comes to issues like insurance that knows no party line, our people are hurting and our people are suffering. So in order for me to effectively serve my district, I have to be able, or my state, I have to be able to work with people. We all show up to jobs and have to work with people who we don't agree with or get along with. I don't see why this is any different. Mm-hmm. I've never compromised ever on issues that I believe in. And I've taken on very many unpopular votes. In fact, when the governor had his tax session, he was pushing these bills that were unpopular. His number one bill to do this major tax reform, that was the number one bill that he was pushing. There are 39 senators, 39. There was one vote in opposition to his most important tax bill that session. You know who that senator was? His name is Royce Duplessis, right? So, but with that said, I'm not going there just to get in the fight, just to get into a fight. Mm-hmm. I want to deliver for my district. I want to deliver for the city of New Orleans, and that's what I've done. So, we can't be distracted by the nonsense, because there's a lot of it out there. But anybody who wants to know can look at my record. I will stand up for New Orleans, respect the office of governor, whoever is in that office. But at the end of the day, we're here to work and we're here to deliver results. And that's just not talk. I have a record to back it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this so much. Like, this is the best thing I could have ever heard today. Mm-hmm. All right, but thank you for joining us. We really did appreciate it. I loved it. I'm so glad you got my vote.
Oh wow! Yeah. Thank you so much. I look like I'm still working on another one. I'm still working. All right. All right.
We'll see.
I got you. I got you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you so much.
But before we wrap, is there any last thoughts that you'd like to share with our members?
I just think it's time for us as a city to turn the page. We have to define our future for ourselves. We can't wait for anybody else to do it. That's why I chose to get in this race right now. I don't believe we can wait. We can't wait for the change that we want to see. We have to be more bold. We have to be more direct, more willing to stand out there. We have to be willing to take criticism, get attacked, all the things that come with it, have the hard conversations, but do it in a way that's constructive. We're in a time and a space right now where I believe the amount of misinformation and division that's out there at the federal level, at the state level, at the local level, has left a lot of people being disenchanted and disenfranchised and feeling just disaffected and not wanting to participate. So we have to lean in even harder and have these discussions. I will be a mayor that will lead in a new way. I'll be a new voice for our generation, for our perspectives. It's time to turn the page on the old way of doing things. The people who've been there so long, they're part of the dysfunction and the chaos, and our people are really suffering as a result. So I think all of it needs to be called out. You cannot suggest that you're going to be a part of change when you've literally been the architect of the chaos. And I think our city deserves better than that. I'm in this race because I have the solutions, I have the experience, I have the temperament, I have the ability to work with the people and stand up to those who I disagree with to deliver results for this city. And that's what this is about at this time, in this moment.
I love it. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you so much.
Truly.
I appreciate it. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. This is great.